I am tired. Not your my day was so busy tired, but the kind of tired that resides deep in your bones, down in your soul. Something is not right in my body kind of tired. The kind of tired that only comes when your body is working hard, growing, fighting, or healing something. Unfortunately, I know this tired all too well. It's never a great sign when you have a scan on a Friday and first thing Monday morning receive a phone call from your doctor. I have been in this game long enough to know that what is to follow after the hellos and how are yous isn't good news. And this time was no different. So I wanted to come on and talk about the latest in what I just learned about my health before it got too far along and I forgot some of the details. As the title of this video states, they did just find a new mass in my pelvis. That it's actually new. It could have been the previous mass, but it's definitely grown in size. Let me start at the beginning. If you are new here, back in January, I had a routine pelvic and uterine ultrasound, which is part of my normal screening process because I have something called Lynch syndrome. In that ultrasound, they found a small mass that adhered to my pelvis wall. From there, it was just a long couple months of tests and procedures. They kept on finding new things. So when I went in for my first mammogram, I had to have 2 different breast biopsies, and then I had to have a biopsy of this mass in my pelvis. And then I had all this pain and had to go to the emergency room and do other scans. But what ultimately came from it is that the mass that was in my pelvis was just a bunch of tissue. At the time I said that I wanted to be rescanned in 6 months because of my health history. I just felt like my gut was just telling me that I needed to just go back in 6 months. Over the summer, I started feeling a lot of pressure in my pelvis area. I just thought that maybe with my hysterectomy 2 years ago, just over 2 years ago, that maybe my bladder had kind of sunk down a little bit lower and my intestines were sitting on top of it, because the other thing that started happening is I had to pee all the time. Early September, I made an appointment with my gynecological oncologist to follow-up scan, and he did a physical exam and he didn't notice anything. Then I made an appointment for my scan, which was last Friday, October 14th. And then had my MRI, went about my weekend, and then yesterday morning, about 9 a.m., I got a phone call. When I answered it, it was my doctor. And I've been at this for so long that I know that a phone call from your doctor at 9 a.m. on a Monday when your scan was 4 days prior is never a good sign. So after he asked me how I was doing, I kind of laughed and I said, well, the fact that you were calling me on a Monday morning after my scan was on Friday probably means that I'm not doing too good, right? And he just kind of was like, well, there's definitely something there. There is either a new mass or the other mass grew, and now it's the size of a grapefruit. So in 6 months' time, I went from having a little tiny mass on my pelvic wall to having something the size of a grapefruit, which is basically a little bit smaller than that. In my pelvis, everything just started to click for me. I have been having, as I said earlier, a lot of issues with having to pee. Like, I will go to the bathroom and then a short while later I'll have to go again. On the flip side, I also am having trouble not being able to go to the bathroom, and I'm just horribly constipated. I told my doctor this, and he goes, well, that makes sense because the mass is pressing on your bladder and it's pushing into your lower colon. So it's blocking that and resting on your bladder. The fortunate thing is that it's full of a lot of fluid, which to him indicates that it's has a high probability of not being cancerous, but there are some solid aspects to it, which is a little unnerving. Where do I go from here? I think it's such a confusing process for me because of my history, because of what I've gone through in the past. It's only been 6 years since I was diagnosed with metastatic cancer of an unknown primary source, which was a tumor in my left groin. Is this something that came from that? And so there's so many questions that are up in the air right now. So the next step is that my doctor's getting a hold of my gastroenterologist who did my colonoscopy in March, just to make sure that there wasn't any possibility of them overlooking something. If I can go back in and get a sigmoidoscopy, which is where they just do like a partial colonoscopy just at the lower end to see if we can see anything from this mass. I am going to have surgery. We're going to try to do laparoscopic surgery. As if I'm performing the surgery. My doctor is going to do laparoscopic surgery, but he did warn me that because of all of my other surgeries, and I have a lot of scar tissue, and I have had this pelvic infection when I was 24, that there is a higher chance that he will have to just open me up all the way up, which is kind of unfortunate because I won't know that until I wake up from surgery. A whole other different kind of pain than laparoscopic surgery. So that has me feeling pretty nervous, and just, I would say my PTSD is pretty flared right now from my very first experience where I almost died from a surgery just like this. Having a lot of deja vu moments because I was living in this space the first time I went through something similar to this. And so now I'm back, and it was the same time of year. So that is everything that we know right now. I'm actually going on 2 vacations in the next 2 weeks, so I'm gonna have to work around that because I really want to go on these trips. But obviously my health has to come first, so if I get more pain or things become worse, I will not go on them, and I will take care of that. I think mostly I'm just in shock right now. I have been very out of it the last 24 hours, almost 48 hours. I have a splitting headache, which I don't know if that is just the result of me being dehydrated or because I can't eliminate all my toxins. It's all like starting to recirculate, or whatever it could be, or it's just stress. I've been having more and more headaches over the last couple weeks, which is also unnerving. I'll probably need to talk to him about that as well, and maybe get an MRI for my brain, since Lynch syndrome does cause brain cancer as well. Ultimately, I just don't really want to be back here. Obviously, that goes without saying. I know what lies ahead, and it's a very long, exhausting process, and it's also right in the middle of, or at the beginning of, my busy season, and that is really stressful because I'm not really set up financially to take time off work right now. That makes me pretty sad. My mom has been telling me that we will figure it out and she will help me as much as she can. My work is also very labor intensive, so if I have to be cut all the way open, the recovery time is a lot longer than laparoscopic. There's just so many balls up in the air right now, and I have so much to process and think about and plan for. It kind of just feels like I can't catch a break. This has just been a really, really exhausting year. I'm not looking forward to doing this all over again. And it just feels like every few months they find something new. Right now my head is kind of foggy. I'm just taking it one day at a time. I'm going to bed at like 7:30 right now because, well, I have been for a while, but it really clicked for me that my body is literally growing this giant mess and it's sucking the life out of me right now. I'm just exhausted. I'm not eating very much because I can't really, I'm not very hungry, and then I can't eliminate it. So I am trying to just do like soups and smoothies and pureed stuff, which is kind of boring, to be honest. And I love food. It's really hard to do this all alone, not 100% alone. I have my family, which is amazing, but it's just like another reminder that I don't have somebody by my side. I don't have this dual income that I can depend on. I have to support myself. I'm just feeling all sorts of feelings. My goal is to really document this whole process so I can do a better job of giving voice to what it is like to live with chronic illness, something like Lynch syndrome, because it's becoming more and more common. They're realizing that more people probably have Lynch syndrome than they originally thought, and it's just not being diagnosed because they may be the first one in their family to get cancer. I'm hoping to be able to be a voice to that and to be able to help people along this journey by sharing more of mine. I'm going to do my best to document all of this, although it's not always the easiest thing for me. I think it's really, really important. Yeah, I'm just going to take it day by day, and that's all I can do. I'm feeling a little sad and not only physically tired, but emotionally and mentally tired too. "2022 has already been a hard year. It started with me having skin cancer removed from my nostril to only weeks later finding a smaller mass in my pelvis and a few months of scans and tests and multiple biopsies to get the results that it was just tissue. About a month later, my stepdad grew sicker and ended up on hospice and ultimately passed away 6 weeks later. The silver lining in all of it is that I got to move back to an apartment that I hold dear in my heart, having my mom closer so we can take care of each other. I'm grateful that upon learning of the latest news, I could merely open my apartment door and walk upstairs to tell her. As many times as I have had to deal with things like this over the last 20 years, it honestly never gets easier. The fact that this thing grew to the size of a grapefruit in just 6 months is a little unnerving. It's scary, and now I just want it out, but I know there is a bit of waiting and information gathering that still needs to be done before I can move forward with anything. I need to figure out how I walk this tightrope and find balance in just being present in my life, continuing to live, and planning for the near future. If I have learned anything from everything I've been through, I will not let this derail me. I will keep moving forward the best I can each day. And I will update you as I go. This will be a journey and not one for the weak, so I will dig deep and find my strength once again.